I said that last time. I said I was going to get you headphones, but I didn't even have headphones.
Why? Where's your headsets?
I didn't set it up. I was in a hurry. I had to go get my car. Cheers.
I have to go get my car too. Cheers. Can I put this in a mug?
If you like.
I would like.
My car, it's stalled.
You talking about your Cadillac?
Yeah. I'm not going to bleep out the model. The coil, it blew, and then the only 4 of the 8 cylinders were running. Mm-hmm. And they're like, yeah. I said, is this, how does this happen? They're like, oh, it's just a fluke. I'm like, do I have a lemon? They're like, no, lemons have way more problems than this. Make sure you're in focus. You're good. Yeah, beautiful. Good. So we did your in-body, and you've been very consistent. You've been working hard. It looks good. You look good. You feel strong. No dead cat references.
No dead cat references, no.
Oh, it's good. And even though it was the holidays, you had Easter, you probably ate something. Did you cheat a little bit?
No.
Nothing?
Nothing.
I did.
Good
a little.
You. Good for you.
Just a little.
Good for you. Actually, I'm going to take that back. I did have a little cheesecake.
Bring it right.
I did have a little cheesecake.
Yeah, no, I want to hear it in cheesecake.
Cheesecake.
Good.
I did have cheesecake.
Have cheesecake. Yeah. Have 2 pieces.
No.
Do you know what zeppole are?
Zeppola?
Yes.
Yeah, it's an Italian treat.
Yeah, that's right. I remember way back, it was at my in-laws, and they had a tray of them, and I ate 2 of them in one sitting. And everyone's looking at me. I'm like, you guys not going to have one of these?
I used to do a lot. Well,
I can't do that.
Portuguese background, you would figure there's a lot of desserts.
I never enjoyed Portuguese desserts.
Oh, you just lost. You lost a lot of your fan base, I'm sure, right now.
I don't think so.
No, you know what? It is.
I don't have
there is a lot of sugar in them. That's for sure.
I don't care about that. Yeah. I almost prefer if they had more sugar. I mean, if it's a dessert, I'm going to eat a dessert. Isn't that this is what this podcast is about?
Is it really?
The extremes of adherence and being strict versus knowing how to moderate. Because I'm a moderation guy. I won't tell anyone you can never, ever, ever have, unless it's like dairy.
Right.
So I'm like, I would have a dessert, but I'll have a gluten-free, dairy-free dessert. Not that it's healthier. Mm-hmm. It just doesn't have the things that destroy my tummy.
What if you were in Europe? Would it apply then too? Because their dairy there is different than dairy here?
I think it's iffy. Like, I'm not totally convinced that I would be safe to do it. People come back from there, they do tell me, like, oh, I had everything. I had cheese every day. I had yogurt. I had desserts. Nothing bothered me. And I had that experience when I was on my honeymoon. I had that there. And then when I came back, I'm like, oh, I guess I can have yogurt. It didn't seem to bother me. And it's like, ooh, this isn't right.
Yeah.
Why does my throat hurt? And was my tummy bloated?
It is different over there.
It's very different. Yeah. It's different in a great way, which then makes me think, like, well, how bad is it here? And can we even put our finger on what is bad?
I would say the industry, because it's so controlled. It's so, like, over there, they I think they rebel a little bit more about what, how their food is being made.
I think they have tighter restriction on the unpronounceable ingredients that are added, because they often will do a side-by-side of ingredients from products there and here, like the same product. Yep. And we've got way more things at the end of the list that are like, what are these things? What is that even? What are these numbers and words? And so I think whatever those miscellaneous ingredients, I think that's a big part of what we can eat and digest. I also think that just the general harvesting and or the industry, whether it's dairy or wheat or whatever, the regulations are very different across the world, where in Europe, I think they do aim for like an authentic, original, like this is how our ancestors did it. Yeah. Whereas there is no tradition here in that form. It's more of North America is a mostly capitalistic. Like, we came here to make a lot of money, and we're not going to lose out on profit because we want to increase our yield. And if we add X, Y, and Z to the crops, we'll have more yield. There's no great grandfather who had a farm that is like, this is how we've been doing it for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple hundred, but those guys, they're not here.
Yeah. Northern Ontario, you'll find them.
That's
That's
true.
where you can go to the Amish. If you go to the Amish, you find
There's
better.
Amish up north.
You find better product up there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I bet. I mean, even if you just went to a butcher, even if it's not, a cow from wherever.
The guy, my neighbor, my butcher, right? Half a cow. Beautiful. Cuts it up for me. Gets it all ready, all packaged, and I know it really is like, which one is it going to be? And he points out to his back window. It's like that one right over there.
Yeah.
2 weeks later, he's giving me a call. It's like, it's all ready to go.
Good.
Yeah.
Good. So I know that you have been very disciplined, but do you ever feel like it's too strict?
I do feel like that sometimes. But Francesca even tells me, she goes, you're over the top sometimes when it comes to this stuff, right? Because I won't have, not even like a little taste of, right? Like the cheesecake thing, that was only because the restaurant that we went to, they make everything by hand.
Mm-hmm.
So there was no crust. There was like no, like that cookie crumble on the bottom. So I didn't have to worry about that. And, it's all their own cheese that they make, into cheesecake. So like there was, I broke that day, but it really is strict. It is strict. And it kills me sometimes. I just look at it, I'm like, I just want to have like, some rice or some potatoes or a cookie or something. I just can't. Because once you
break that seal,
that's it. You know what I mean? Like,
well, what if it wasn't about it being so strict? What if it was like, I allow it 1 day a week? Because when you break the seal, what I guess my idea is like, there's no defined terms. When it's all or nothing, that's it. It's like, I don't have it. That's a term.
Yeah.
And that's something you adhere to. But then there's temptation, and then sometimes there's a possibility of a rebound.
It's the feeling. Like, I don't like the feeling after. I like the taste, obviously. So if I had,
but if you had it just a little bit once in a while, does it really have that negative impact on you?
Yeah, it would. I feel, for example, the milk thing. If I were to have ice cream, love ice cream.
Yeah.
So if I had ice cream, I for 24 hours I'll feel like garbage. It's not worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I like the flavor, I like the taste, you know what I mean? But whatever they're adding into it, because obviously when I was in Portugal, I had ice cream there. It didn't bother me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's made different, right? So it's just not.
So is everyone leaving Canada?
I maybe, but for other reasons, I would think, not just the milk, but
I thought about that, and by the time everyone leaves, everything's going to self-correct, and everyone's going to be wanting to come back.
Yeah. I do think that obviously not everyone can leave, right? A lot of people talk about leaving, stuff like that. And if that's what they need to do, then that's what they need to do.
It's just weird that that's such a common thought. Like, everyone talks about it now. Everyone's thinking that.
Sink is shipping, or the ship is sinking.
Yeah.
Right? You leave.
Didn't you say the sink is shipping?
I did. I had
I like that.
Dyslexia there.
The sink is shipping.
The sink is shipping. Yeah. Not everyone can leave, obviously. Not everyone. I'm sure.
Where are you going to go? And who says it's going to be better there?
The grass, I heard this great term. The grass is not always greener on the other side of the fence. The grass is greener where you water it. Right?
Oh,
so, deep stuff.
It's a fortune cookie.
Yeah. No, it wasn't a fortune cookie, actually. It was actually a guy by the name of Sachin Patel. I heard that quote from him. He's a really smart guy. So, you might go somewhere thinking that it's better. Doesn't necessarily mean that it will be better.
So what does watering mean? Besides literally, like, is it where you water it? Where you like
where you put your energy into.
Yeah.
Right. You know
Invest
what I mean?
into the situation.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Jordan Peterson, I think it was, said, you can't change, or before you can change your country, you have to change your province. Before you change your province, you have to change your city. Before you change your city, you have to change your neighborhood. Before you change your neighborhood, you have to change your house. So if you can't even do the small things inside your own home, what makes you think you're going to do it at a grander scale, right?
So when people...
That's the watering part. You have to do it at home first.
And what does that look like? I mean, what if, like, we're using you as an example, and like you're very disciplined with your diet, but who says everyone else in the house wants to do that?
Oh, they don't.
Yeah,
they don't. Obviously, I mean, like Francesca likes, she likes her veggies, right? So, yeah,
I was gonna say something else. But liking veggies is not a bad thing.
No,
she's getting vilified for doing something good.
No, she likes her vegetables. Obviously, I mean, like she likes rice, she likes potatoes. Those are things that she likes. I can't tell her I can't tell her just go carnivore. Like, I mean,
I don't think it would suit her.
I don't know. Here it is. Unless you actually try something, right? And you put the time and the effort. And put the time and the effort.
Not to divest her information, but I mean, in my assessment with her, that's what we discussed.
Yeah.
And I think she told you to back off.
She did. She needs it, obviously. But here it is with things happening, and it's like it has to be. Why don't you try this?
Sure.
It's like exercising, right?
No, and I get the point of if you have
exercise?
something going on, don't just be status quo and say like, well, nothing's helping. It's like, well, are you trying things?
Right.
I think the point is valid to be like, you should try something.
Right.
Maybe it's not the exact perfect solution. Maybe there's fine tuning that has to be done.
Yeah.
For you, I think you found something that has harmonized with your will, but then there's always the part of like I try to anticipate the next step and the next two steps. So it's like you've plateaued, which is good, but then is there a point where there's like a rebound effect where it's like, it's a little bit too strict. I'm starting to get temptation. I wish there's a way that I can build into my plan something that's a sustainable thing where I don't feel sick, but I can cheat and it doesn't feel like a cheat.
Right.
Can you do that?
I have been incorporating fruit. So
okay, that's a starting point.
I'll do like an apple a day, right?
Okay.
You know what I mean? So like if I want that sweet thing, I'll do an apple.
Okay.
Right.
Are you this disciplined in everything else that you do?
I try to be. I mean, I really try to be. It's I guess it's my. I don't like to use the word fault. It's not my fault, but it's just a character. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's my character. Like, if I put into
character fault.
Yeah. It's
traits.
It's if I'm going to do it, like, if I start something, I'm going to want to finish it, right? Unless something prevents me from finishing it. If I say, I'm going to do this for 30 days, I will try it for 30 days. Sure. I'm going to do this for 6 months. I will do it for like 6 months because unless you put the time and the effort into it, like anything, if you were to say to me, Bryan, prebiotic every morning for a month.
Yeah.
But if I only did it for 2 days, then I come back and say, oh, it didn't work. Did I do
Guess what? That happens all the time.
I'm sure it does. But that's the thing. Like, you have to do it. You have to put the time and the effort into the product or the job that you're about to do to get the results.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're interesting because you kind of you're on the other side of the spectrum where most people lack discipline.
I wouldn't say that I'm a disciplined person. I just, I want the positive outcome.
Yes.
Right? Like, I want the positive results. So it's not like I'm disciplined with everything, but there are certain things that I look at and I'm like, I'm going to do this because in the end, it's going to be better for me.
Sure.
Right. You know what I mean? So, it's coming down, it's a 2-hour drive to get down here. But when I'm here, it's like, I'm going to go do the acupuncturist because I know laying there, even though I hate laying down on my stomach, it's very uncomfortable for me. I don't like it. But that half hour of her just putting needles into my back and, it's the outcome after is better. So I
Is
try to
this-
stay. I
It's a
try to stay.
traditional.
I stay traditional
Yeah.
Chinese acupuncture. So I stay disciplined to that once a month. I
Yeah.
come down once a month and boom, like it's you know,
Do they tell you what they're working on, or is it sort of just like slide there? Tell me what you feel.
well, yeah. I mean, I've been seeing her now for close to 5 years now, so she knows my routine,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And so she knows where I have my aches and pains and stuff like that. Like she does this thing where she does like, she does acupuncture on my head. There's like about 20 needles that she puts like in my head and in my face.
Wow.
Right? Yeah, and it's just like she goes, "Oh, Brian, you're really tense." Right,
Yeah,
and
so
so she, and so
the
she,
20 needles you shoved in my eyes.
yeah, but she's good that way. I'm gonna say she probably does anywhere between 50 to 60 needles on me, depending on what's
quite a bit.
bothering. Yeah, right.
That's a lot.
Well, it's front and back, right? I mean, so
And it's a half an hour each side.
each side, yeah.
Does she look at your tongue?
No,
No, she just kind of goes with.
hands on first. Like she'll do a quick massage, like from foot to head, like to see, oh, you're tight in your calves, you're tight in your back, right? Like your neck is tight, right?
Okay.
She'll do that, and then she does.
She's probably mapping the meridians. Okay,
Yeah.
that's good. Good.
Yeah. So disciplined in that, those kinds of things, but the results, I like the feeling after, right? So, but I wouldn't say I'm disciplined to everything, right?
Were you always like that? Because, I mean, I think no, it's something you adopt as you feel like I need to be on top of this.
No,
Yeah.
yeah. I think it's an age thing. As you get to a certain age, you realize like, hey, you know what? 2 o'clock in the morning, you're not going to, you're not going to go get a veal sandwich at 2 o'clock in the morning because I'm not 20 anymore. You can't do that.
Yeah, I think when you have your first bit of indigestion or heartburn or something that's like, I used to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And then when you have that, and I like whenever I hear a patient say, and it's like, well, I've always been able to do this before, but now it's like, yep, you broke that seal too. That's another line that you cross. And yeah, sometimes you can fix it, but sometimes it's just a sign. It's like, you're not 20. There's things that your body, like a lot of kids will come in and I'll be like, well, what do you eat? And they're like, well, I don't really eat until like maybe lunch or after school. I'm like, it's your first meal of the day is after school. And they're like, well, they're fine. They're not hungry. I'm like, your metabolism's shutting down. And they're young enough that it's just they got enough stamina.
Yeah.
But then there's a certain point, usually when it's like first year university, they hit a big wall. Frequently sick, gain weight, acne, period stuff, all this stuff. And they don't know what's going on. They're like, I've always done this. It's like, well, now your stress levels went from a 4 to a 12.
Right.
And you're trying to maintain the same habits. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Your body's telling, like, your situation changed and your body's telling you this doesn't work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I feel like when people tell me, oh, I don't believe in this gluten dairy free thing, well, you haven't hit that line yet.
Yeah.
Once you hit that line, then you'll be like, it makes no sense for me to have these things. It's not doing me the benefit it's supposed to, and I'm dealing with the consequences. So I'm like, is there other things?
And
yes.
this is why I try to stay disciplined to what I like. You know what I mean? And this is why, like Francesca said to me, she goes, what's the satisfaction, right? What's the satisfaction of living if you can't enjoy like the little small things? And it's like, if having that little ice cream is the satisfaction, it's like, oh, I had it, but then I feel like garbage for 24 hours as it goes through my system. What's the satisfaction really? Because there was that little small hit of dopamine, and I'm like, oh,
And that's, I like analyzing the psychiatry behind it, because some people, their dessert that's their reward. And that's a somewhat arbitrary definition. Like, you created that in your mind.
Yeah.
Someone will be like, well, I can't wait for my birthday because I always have the same kind of ice cream cake. It's my favorite. But the last few years it's been bothering my stomach, but I still love it. I'm like, no one's putting a gun or a ice cream scoop to your head.
Yep.
You can choose to have some other defining reward.
Yeah.
And that is not just ice cream or birthdays or whatever. That, like, any aspect of your life, like someone will say, I can't work out because I don't have time, because I've got bills, I've got got to, have a side job. I got this and that. I'm like, but do you notice where exercise would be taking away some stress in your life? Because your responses to life is a stress response. And if you are stressed about finances, we are naturally inclined to think, well, you should work more or make more or do something to offset like if there's a deficit, you build an increase. But sometimes it's a perception issue too. It's like maybe you would be more effective or efficient in your work if you compartmentalize some other priorities. It's like, how efficient are you if you, like, let's say you have a 9-hour work day, but you haven't eaten, you're stressed, you're tired, your brain's foggy. How much more efficient would you be if you work 6 hours, but had time to work out, took time to eat, had prepared, did some meal prepping during the day, shut it down halfway in the afternoon just to kind of like get like 10 minutes just to like clear your head. So you're taking away from work time, but you're greatly improving not just your health, but like your mental health and maybe your efficacy and efficiency and clarity of thought. I mean, there's a reason why surgeons work in the morning and not in the afternoon, right?
I didn't know that.
Oh, isn't that a thing? Or it should be. At least it used to be.
I don't know.
I don't want an afternoon surgeon.
Good point. You would want a guy that's fresh first thing in the morning.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that. That's interesting.
I mean, most of the time it's booked early. I mean, I don't know if it's just a scheduling issue.
Yeah.
I mean, probably nowadays it is. Like, well, we got you scheduled for 3 a.m. I don't know if that's a good idea. People falling asleep on you. But I think there's something there. I think people have to redefine, like once they analyze what their issue or weak spots are, now you have to redefine what your reward systems are. How do you know that you've accomplished something? How do you know what's the next step? I always use this example. I had a patient, and he was a kind of like a supervisor for construction of some kind. And he was a workaholic. But for him, his success, he could work all day, months and a year at a time, and he would be focused on this one project because he knew that once that job closed, that was his finish line. Then he can reset, start over, and he was good. And then he changed jobs, and he went into an industry that is a little bit more like an undefined, like the projects were just, they blur and blend into each other, and there was no finite end to one project. He became depressed. He got burnt out. And in our discussions, we realized you don't have a finite goal.
Right.
You don't have a short term that's like, I'm going to kill myself to the point that I'm going to. But once that time, January 1st, the job's done, I can take a week off, restart, build up to the new project, and I'm good. So we need to define for ourselves rewards, set points, what's the next step.
Short-term goals.
Yeah,
Short-term
but
goals.
also, I mean, not just a goal. Sometimes it is like a way to measure if you are moving in the right direction. Sometimes it's even a way to self-check to see if you are failing at something.
Yeah.
It's not wrong to do that.
No, it's not. Plus, we are a society that has gotten so used to, the Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 routine.
Yeah, just keep your head down.
You get 65 years of age and then you retire.
You can't.
And you don't know what to do. And
Yeah.
a lot of people pass away right after they retire
Yeah.
because they either start putting on the weight, they're stressed out on what
That's
they're
a good
doing.
example. That's someone who hasn't defined what their retirement is.
Is going to look like
because they lived their up until retirement. It was work was what defined their routine, and which is fine. But then once work ends, you no longer have anything that defines
your
you
routine
unless you reestablish or establish a new routine. That's like, so every morning I wake up at the same time. I go to the gym. I have a breakfast. I do some gardening. I meet up with a friend, and you're doing this somewhat religiously because once you get to the point where like, I just sit and watch TV. I don't have anything to do. Then you're lost.
Yeah.
Because like a lot of what helps keep us alive is the looking forward to or anticipating something that's coming. Like, I can't wait for, there's a wedding in the summer, or I can't wait for the birth of whoever. Like, there's something that will, like, that is in the perceivable future that we know is coming. And even though it may be difficult in the meantime, it's like, well, you know what, it's boring and I got a lot, like, there's turmoil or stress or whatever it is, but there's an end point. I had another patient and they were going through some business stuff and it was extremely stressful for them to the point they're not eating. And in the beginning, it was a little bit undefined, but then in the discussion, it's like, well, there's a set point. There is an end point to this problem that was going to be resolved. That's the resolution date. And I knew that this patient was going to have difficulty right up to that resolution date. Because once that resolution date happened, everything kind of was just like, okay, now it's moving forward. Now it's a clear slate. Now I know what's next. But they couldn't see past that. It's almost like, I know that there's a finish line, but I can't see what's past that.
Yeah.
Once I reach that finish line, then they're like, oh, yeah, I know what to do. But they were kind of like, they were veiled from seeing what was next. So I tell people, like, if you feel depressed, maybe you feel lonely, maybe you feel like you don't have anything going on in your life, make a 4 to 6 month calendar and put down every single thing that's coming and that you've done, and have it like visible. Don't have it put on your phone that's invisible. Write it out, and something that is, side by side, and you can see like, hey, you know what? Last month I thought I was bored, but I went out 14 times. I saw a movie. We went to a couple restaurants and this and that.
I remember back in the 80s, they used to, like, when they would have movies and they would be like, okay, from, the beginning of summer, like, January to August, July to August, and they would have the calendar and they have like that date circled, and every day there'd be like that monologue where they're like Xing out every single day to their goal.
Yes.
Right. I mean, that's basically what you're talking about.
We've lost. Sometimes you need to have something mechanical and something physical, because you can just put a reminder in your phone, but there's no cue, unless it's like every day you set an alarm to be like, hey, 24 days until your birthday, 23 days, whatever it is. You need to have that constant stimulation and like some kind of feedback so that it's like, oh yeah, that's right, I got something that's coming. And I tell people, you need to have something on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis to look forward to. And it doesn't have to be the same thing. Like, you don't have a party every day. Maybe you have a party every few months.
Right.
But on a daily basis, it's like, you got a show that you like. I can't wait for 9 o'clock. I'm going to watch my favorite show or watch a series, whatever it is. That's a checkpoint of the day. My day ends. I put my feet up. I watch something. I don't have to think anymore. Like, that defines that my day is coming to a close and I can coast the rest of the day. Weekly stuff, you got to have things that you have, like, I'm going out with so-and-so. We're going to do this. Every week we go there. We play sports or whatever it is. People don't do that. People are a little bit more, I guess, when you don't plan something, you're less likely to do anything because sometimes the impulsiveness is not there.
The longer you wait to do something, the more likelihood you're not going to do it.
You push it off. It's like, yeah, we should do that, but it's like doctor's appointments. If a patient leaves here and they haven't rescheduled their follow-up, probably not going to come back. It's not because they don't want to.
Right. They just didn't do it.
They're like, well, maybe I'm going to call. It's like, well, if you don't do it now.
That's me. I left the eye doctor's office. Like, do you want to rebook? And I'm like, I'll look at my schedule. I'll call you back. Yeah. Because I don't know next time I'm coming down to the city.
Well, what you should do, you can schedule something. But say but give me a call the week before, and I may need to move that.
Right.
At least it's there.
Yeah.
If you don't do it, then it's invisible.
Yeah. Well, I like the system that we have. I'm like, hey, I'm coming down to the city. You want to do a talk?
Because there is a formula there. There is terms in your mind that make sense. It's like, when I come down to Toronto, I got all these things I get to do. I like to see Jason. I want to do the podcast. I want to do my tests. And that's, and I kind of leave it to you, but like it's worked.
Yeah.
Because there's a consistency in it. There's some kind of rhyme and reason.
I'm laughing. I'm smiling because I remember the message that we just had going back and forth right now about today.
My brain fart?
Sure.
Sorry, I gotta. It's Easter Monday. I'm gonna stay home with the family. It's like, well, that's wonderful, Jason, but it is a Wednesday.
It is a Wednesday. Yeah.
So, but if you need to reschedule them, that's fine with me. I'm like, I'll see you Wednesday.
Yeah.
that I guess whatever the treats I had on the weekend, it just somehow
brain fog. Hey, no, I totally get it because it probably would have been one of those things I would have done on a Monday, right? So I could see why.
I just don't
But
know how to
I
read
just- I
calendars.
find-
I've been telling people have a calendar, and I don't even know how it works.
I find it humorous. I
Just
loved it.
try
yeah.
to figure out what a Monday looks like. Hey, what's going to happen on the eclipse? Why is everyone going crazy?
Dude,
Is it-
because the black box is telling them to. That's why. Because the TV tells them to.
Is that what you call it?
Huh? Well, it is a black box. Look at it, a rectangle. But it's whatever people. I remember as a kid, they would happen. You'd go to school, and it's like just don't look at the sun. And what did everyone do? They looked at the sun.
But is it
Yeah, I
even
mean,
worse to look at the sun? I mean, technically, it's being covered. I mean, wouldn't it be the best time to look at the sun?
When it's
That sounded
when it's
like
in
a trap.
full
Maybe no.
totality. Only then can you look at it without the glasses.
But is it just generally exactly like looking at the sun on a regular day? Like you just shouldn't be doing that anyways, but people are inclined to do
But
it.
the thing is, you're not looking at the sun directly. Something is blocking it, so you're just looking at
What is blocking it?
the moon. Apparently,
How come we
There's
never
a-
see
I
the
don't know.
moon just kind of miss the sun?
Dude, what do you mean miss it?
Like, so there's an eclipse because the moon crosses in front of the sun.
Right.
But how come we never see the moon just kind of like off to the side of the sun?
Dude, that's a whole different podcast. It's funny enough because I did mention this. Like, there's been times during the day, and we've all seen.
Sometimes
this,
you
where
see the moon over
I
there,
was
and
just
the
about to
sun's
say,
over there.
The moon and the sun are both out.
Yeah.
Right. So you can see both very clearly.
Yeah.
But when the eclipse is happening, why don't you see it starting to track in
Yeah.
front of? Obviously, when it's it's fully covered, you can't see it because you're seeing the dark side of it.
Yeah.
And then it passes by again.
You know, I
right?
bet they'll say it's because the light of the sun is behind the moon and that there's no light illuminating the side of the moon that's facing us. We'll just leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that.
So
It's a whole different podcast.
we should do that.
Sure.
We should say it would be conspiracies. Yeah, I always wanted to do conspiracy podcast, but it would be like not video, and we would just do like voice modulation, so no one sounds like who they are.
You're letting everybody know, though.
Well, maybe there's other ones out there that it sounds like this. It's not us.
Yeah.
We talk about everything there.
I'll do one of those with you. Get the equipment.
Yeah, I think it's. I just put
in there.
But just kind of came up with the camera. But one of those fuzzy things around us, and then you move to drink and you see your face. I went to the basketball game yesterday. Saw LeBron James.
I don't watch basketball.
Well, then never mind.
Yeah. Sorry, it's too boring of a sport for me. It really is.
I used to think so,
Yeah.
and to be really honest, I actually think it makes more sense than hockey does. Not hockey now, not hockey in the 90s. I think hockey in the 90s was like the best era. There was so many superstars and so many good goals and good goaltenders.
Yeah.
It was better. Now it's just way too fast. It's too and too chaotic. There's too much dumping, cycling. There isn't nice passing. Like there's passing, but it's very like done. Like it's not like how power plays are supposed to look. Like you can like, or Lemieux used to kind of like wheel around and he had control. Now someone just bash him and take the puck.
Yeah.
And then someone bashes back. It's just so abrupt. I think that, what do you think about, like, I mean, people don't want to change anything about the game, but the size of the rink and the size of the nets suited 5'5" players. Now they're 6'5".
Mm-hmm.
The arena, the rink is too small.
Yeah.
The nets are a little bit small because the goalies are 6 foot plus, 6'5" sometimes or more. What are you hitting? Nothing.
Yeah.
And you look at highlights from the 80s, so much net to hit.
Yeah.
You didn't even have to hit it hard. You just kind of like, oops, went kind of just under his arm.
Yeah. And bigger ice surface.
Well, they had
It's-
international ice surface.
Yeah,
bigger.
like Olympic
Yeah.
size ice, right?
What would it kill people
I
to have the net
no,
6 inches wider?
it might make the game a little bit.
They did it to soccer.
Did they?
At one point,
See,
they
like,
did make the nets wider.
I don't follow sports enough that way. Like for me, a good goal is a good goal. A good save is a good save.
But you're not getting those.
True.
I remember that you
much
could,
as much
now
as
now they have to do circus things like the Michigan.
Yeah.
Like that to me isn't. That's like that should almost be outlawed. Like
Really?
scooping up the puck and going behind and over the goalie's shoulder. That's not hockey. That's like a lacrosse thing. Whereas I'd rather be like, we restricted the size of the goalie's equipment, so obviously not to hamper safety.
Right.
But it's not cheating.
Right.
Because you don't need, like back in the day, there, about 15
Understood.
years
Yeah,
ago,
yeah.
they had the lacrosse equipment. Made the nets a little bit bigger, even if it's just 3 inches all around. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, yeah.
You don't have to worry about changing lines and rules and all like you just give them a little bit more room to aim at.
Yeah.
Is it so bad?
No, it's not. I think it'd be good for the game. I think
People think that no, we have to keep it exactly the same way. It's like, but you haven't limited the size of the players.
Right.
They're way bigger and equipment
bigger,
and
faster.
Yeah, and I think the shifts I understand how people new to hockey have a hard time following it because I hadn't watched for a long time because I just kind of turned off watching the day-to-day game. Who cares? And then going to a game and watching and then just seeing like just circling. It's like, it's almost like a rugby scrum. 2 or 3 guys in the corner waiting for it to come out. Used to be rushes back and forth, 2-on-1s, 3-on-2. It doesn't happen. Like it happens, but it's just so like fleeting. They reach that end of the ice so quickly. It's like you can't make the players slower.
No.
But you can make the rink bigger. Give them a little bit more distance to travel.
Yeah. I think it's a good idea.
Okay, let's do it.
I think it would bring you.
It would make the game more appealing because it technically would slow it down a bit. It's too fast. It's too aggressive, and there's no true organization. Basketball, when you start to learn and understand like what's happening, and you see a good team, unfortunately not the Raptors. Right now, they don't have systems. When you have a system and there's a style of play, you see what a pick looks like. You see what, a layup. You see how things like a lob. You're starting to see the mentality of like the players like, well, he's going there, so he's obviously going to have to come around here. Now you see, and then it's like you pass it off, and then you pass it off. So there's like a purpose in the passing, which makes sense. It's not. Yesterday, at the Raptors game, there was a point I looked at my wife. I'm like, they look like they're in like the 7th or 8th grade, not the basketball team, just like a gym.
Yeah.
A gym class where they don't have. It's like today we're doing basketball, guys, and just see someone and they're like, they don't know who, and then someone strips them. It was it was messy. So, but when you see a good team, which that's usually what I do is I try to find the teams that come in, like the good teams that are coming. You see they're like, they know what to do. And when I compared it to hockey, I'm like, it's disappointing. Because hockey, in my glory years of watching hockey, it was fantastic. It was like, you knew who was good. You knew their style. Now everyone's like, okay, Matthews, he scored. To be honest, he could have scored 100 goals back in the day. And it would have been amazing.
Right.
Like a Brett Hull, kind of like whenever he scored a lot one year. Anyways, I don't know why we talk about hockey.
I don't know. You went down that road.
I did. I was disappointed with how. I find that basketball is a little bit easier to watch,
Right.
and to follow. I didn't feel like that before though.
Yeah. For me, it's.
But you don't watch basketball.
No, I don't. I really don't watch much sports. Motorcycle racing, I'll watch that.
Why?
Life and death situations.
You want to be that guy?
Not anymore. Well, because I do ride, I can understand the feeling, right? But it's that life and death situation, right? You're right on top of each other when they're going through a turn. It's like the Isle of Man racing. That stuff is wild.
What's that?
Isle of Man.
Oh,
It's a race. It's a little small island off the coast of England, and they race around the country. So they go through little small towns, and then they're out in open fields, and they go around the island at 200 plus miles an hour. Just unreal. There's a death every year. Guys that just lose control of their bikes, they're either hitting the side of a house or a wall, or they put their bikes over. That's the thrilling part for me. Not the people dying, but that life and death.
Just right before they die.
No, just the whole thing. Like when you're watching guys
turn off the TV just before.
No one
when
died. You're watching guys at like 200 miles an hour, and they're just skimming past a wall. You know what I mean? And it's amazing to watch.
Well, I like F1, but I'm happier that they've put in a lot more safety.
Yeah.
Because the halo and whatnot, like whatever. Even I think they did kind of slow down the horsepower because it's just there was too many deaths.
Yeah.
There shouldn't be any. Like it's not. It's fast enough.
Yeah.
It's exciting enough. Like I think there is a part of that. Like I mentioned, I like moderation. There's a tendency to want to be extreme, like go faster. Well, at what point is it too fast? Where it's like, what's a safety problem?
Right.
And it's like, it's just like splitting hairs. Like if everyone ran the 100 meters in like 9 seconds, and it's like, well, how much faster if someone ran like 8.99999, are they much better than someone that ran 9.00000?
Right.
Like after a while, it's like maybe there was a little eddy currents, maybe there was a little bit more gravel on that side. Like it's splitting hairs. I kind of like things to be like, if they're so fast, okay, make them run further.
Yeah.
Make it a little bit less defined. Like it's almost too arbitrary. You know what I mean?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
All right. Thanks for listening. I need to get that off my chest, I guess.
About the racing?
About everything.
About
Hockey,
everything?
basketball, Zeppele.
Well, you went from being disciplined to basketball. So
Well,
yeah.
Well, to me, like I mean, I see players, like the players have discipline, sort of. We got a bite to eat, and the waiter was like, "Hey, I got an inside tip. The Lakers apparently were out late last night." And I'm thinking, they're out late every night.
Yeah.
It's not going to impact the game. They're obviously going to smoke us.
Yeah.
But I think that's something a waiter says.
Maybe he's doing the side bet.
Oh, yeah, I don't think so. I mean, discipline is important, but I think you have to moderate it. I'm happy the Lakers went out the night before, and obviously it didn't hurt their outcome.
Yeah.
They beat the crap out of us.
Yeah.
So that's a message out for everyone. Go out. Go out at night.
Go out.
Go out, party. Who cares?
Yeah.
Because sometimes I can see where people try too hard and it backfires and they get frustrated. And there's always someone that says to me, "Oh, I had a so and so in my family, and they were like so healthy, and then this happened to them." I'm like, maybe they didn't have enough happiness. Happiness should be a discipline. Do you do what makes you happy? It doesn't have to be a piece of pie. Could be something else, but do you do it?
Are you asking me, or are you?
It's a
kind of throwing
rhetorical
question.
But I mean, in a one-on-one podcast, it's hard to do a rhetorical.
Yeah.
It's more of a statement. Feel free to jump on it or not. What do you think? As a parting thought, do you think it's okay to indulge?
Again, you have to do if it's going to make you happy. If you're going to feel okay with it after, then go ahead.
So what do you do that makes you happy?
Well, right now during the wintertime, there's not much, right?
That's not a good answer. That's a bad answer.
Well, it's not, because the things that makes me happy is like,
you should come up with something immediately.
No, the things that do make me happy are like outdoor events, like outdoor things, right?
Well,
so like in the wintertime,
those
those
are
things
your
become
favorite
limited.
things. Those are your favorite things. But what about having something in the winter where it's limited, but you still have it? It's like, but in the winter, I still do this.
Well, there's nothing that I can say that's going to make me happy. I have my routines, like going to the gym, that kind of stuff. But
Okay, not bad.
it's not the thing that's making me happy. going out for a bike ride.
Do you do that now or not really?
The weather's not really cooperating.
So we always need to find. So again, defining what makes you happy at any given time.
Yeah.
You gotta be happy every day.
Yeah.
Is that foreign to people?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean you have to have something to make you happy. You can be happy without an outside stimuli.
Sure. What's an example?
Just being grateful for what you have, grateful for what you're doing. Those things can make you happy, right?
I feel like, that could be, but it has to be a practice. Maybe you pray, maybe you meditate, maybe you do a devotion of some kind. That could be it. But you have to it has to materialize in some way. It can be intrinsic, but it has to be like, I'm doing this and I'm working towards this. That could very well be.
It could be.
I think the more things you have hardwired into your day that gives you joy, the longer you live. You can quote me.
You go back a couple decades and you find that those people in Europe who didn't have all the things that society says you need to have to make you happy, they were happy.
Because what did they do? They hung out with their friends. They played cards. They would bake. They would give each other stuff. They would visit. They would have events. They would have go to the piazza.
Yeah. That doesn't exist now. So a lot of people now would be more unhappy, always looking for the outside stimuli to make them happy.
So when someone tells me someone's a homebody, they're always on the computer, I'm like, maybe they're more satisfied because they actually have an interaction. Maybe it seems fake because it's virtual or someone on another part of the world, but maybe they do look forward to that. Like if someone tells me, they're always in their room, I'm like, yeah, but what are you doing? You're in front of the TV? You think you're further along? I don't know.
Agreed. It's the other side of the coin, basically the TV or the phone. The phone,
the device is just the modern day comic book.
Yeah.
But it mixes in a lot of other things, so it's easier to get fixated on one thing. But kids fixate on things anyways. Fixate on a toy. Fixate on a whatever. I don't know.
Do they though? I think now we are the last generation that will know life before internet.
Yeah, people, kids, not even kids, 20-year-olds, they have no understanding. Like, what do you mean? Like, I'll be like, remember dial-up? And they're like, what? The fax machine is like, this is like almost a museum kind of thing. Yeah. Like, and to be honest, it is outdated compared to what we have, but people just don't like the ease of things. Like, and I think it speaks to why kids have such difficulties with being impulsive and being able to moderate themselves. Because if you had a favorite movie, if you didn't have a TV guide, or you didn't anticipate when it's going to be on TV, you didn't see it, or you caught the back end of the last half an hour, you only saw the last half an hour. You couldn't go back. You couldn't say, I'll watch it on the other channel that has movies. Yeah. You can't download it. Maybe if you're lucky, you had a VCR, maybe you can record it. Yeah. Or if you owned it, even owning VHS tapes that came out a little while afterwards. But to say as a kid wanted to watch The Wizard of Oz, it's like, that's maybe once a year on one channel at a certain time of day. And if you weren't awake or there, you missed it. Yep. Now kids watch the same movie 8 times in a row, and then the day is over.
I know.
It's great, isn't it?
No. Not great.
It's broken.
Not great, no.
This is good.
It was.
It was okay. It was different. I kind of wanted to leave it open-ended. I said I got a few shots in.
You did. I'm going to say I'm looking forward to Saturday, though.
Saturday. What's happening Saturday?
Saturday, we're coming here. Francesca and I.
It's Organo Day at TriHealth.
Yeah. So tell your audience to come up.
Saturday's going to be a packed house. It's going to be a busy day.
Is it?
Yeah. It's going to be very, very busy with a lot of practitioners here. So it'll be good.
That's awesome.
It is. We picked a good day.
Happy. You see?
That made you happy.
Happy.
Dang.
Happy.
The things that make you happy.
Sharing.
So will you be encouraging people to do their in-bodies? I have to give you a little training on that, because if I'm with patients.
I think I've done enough of them that
You're like, Jason, you're slowing me down. Get out of here.
Yeah. No, it's going to be interesting because it goes back to that discipline thing of something that you can try for 30 days.
Yeah.
That's already a normal routine for majority of the population anyway.
That's right.
And see what happens in 30 days.
You're
not changing. That was the beauty about this when it was first introduced to me, that discipline was because I didn't have to change anything.
It's already an established routine.
It's already established routine, right? And
let's go back to what we were talking about. Establishing routines.
It does go back to what we were talking about.
Now you like it.
Yeah.
Now, because you made it relatable to what you like.
Yeah.
All right.
A stimuli, an outside stimuli.
It's outside, and then it becomes internal.
Inside. Yeah.
Thanks, Bryan.
Thank you.